Welcome to Boomhauer 69 channel, and today Boomhauer is going to show the Sega Genesis 16-bit system, also known as the Mega Drive in other countries like Japan and stuff. They just call it Sega Genesis here in the United States. This was released in January 9, 1989 by the Sega Company, by the Sega Corporation here in the United States. The original release date for this in other countries, like Japan, was 1988, and then in 1989 they released it to the U.S. North America market. Now, to simply, when you got this, the first thing it would always come with, some came with like a copy of Sonic the Hedgehog, like you get a free game with it, some did, but usually you get the system right here itself. Two controllers. This is a Sega Genesis controller, original one. I have multiple Sega controllers, but original Sega controller. And then, of course, all the cords to plug it in, the wall adapter to power it on, and the cable you would use to run to power, to hook it up to your TV and be able to get a picture and actually play the system. On the back here, here's the ports you have. This one right here, where my finger is, that is where you plug in your power supply to power up the machine. This port right here, it was for if you had the special cords to hook up to RCA audio and video output, which on the old analog TVs were simply either white and yellow, white for audio, yellow for video, and red and yellow sometimes for red was also another audio, and then yellow for video, or sometimes you had all three of them, which was red for audio, I think it was audio right or left, and then white, then the white port was for audio right or left. You had two audio ports a lot of times on the older TVs, which red and white were where you would plug in to receive audio, yellow was to receive picture video, and that's what that's for. Then this port right here is for the RF adapter. You would simply plug in what they call RF, and you would plug it in and screw it on the back of your TV to RF. I always used that port as a kid. And then this was just your channel selector right here. This little switch right here was channel selector for channels 3 and 4. And then on the front here, you have the on and off switch, the reset button for if you want to reset a game. And this right here was your volume for if you was going to be plugging in headphones and use headphones. Because back in the day, you could plug the headphones in and just listen through headphones, and that's what this here, and this was your volume button, your volume switch for that, to adjust the volume. Then on the front here is the two ports where you would plug in your controller. You would simply look at, or usually you look at right here where it says Sega on the actual controller. This is the plug that you would use. You plug it in like this. And one port would be for 1 and 2 player mode. So this one right here was the says controller 1, and then it's marked controller 2. So that would tell you which ports are which. Controller 1 port on here was your main one. So if you was playing single player mode, you would just simply plug into controller 1, and then it would control the machine. So whoever was controller 1 was the one that basically controlled the machine and the menus of the games. Now this machine played these style cartridges right here. This is what the video game cartridges were. Now my initial thoughts on the Sega Genesis, I enjoyed playing it as a kid. I give it a full 5 stars. Sega did an awesome job when releasing this video game console back in the day. Because when I first got a Sega, it was probably around the later 90s, early 2000s. By the time I got one, Sega Genesis had already been kind of considered outdated and stuff. I didn't have one right away. I was born in 1990, so when it was first released, I wasn't even born yet. It wasn't until a year later when I was born, and so I was just a little toddler when this was considered the latest and greatest video game console. And so the later 90s to early 2000s is when I was able to play the Sega Genesis and had one myself. And by then, they were considered obsolete, and they wasn't really, at the time when I first got one, they wasn't like a really highly collective thing. They were just, they were flooding the pawn shops and thrift stores and all over, and you could get them relatively cheap. Now they're more of a collector's item and stuff, but my initial thoughts on the Sega Genesis machine, I enjoy it. I love playing Sega Genesis. Even as a kid, I loved playing it. I spent hours and hours playing the Sega Genesis. Now, as an adult, I don't hardly play any video games much. I don't care to own an Xbox, PlayStation, or the newer consoles. If I'm going to play any video games, I'm going to play the old classic cartridge games. But all in all, I give Sega Genesis, the Sega company, a full 5 stars, easy, 2 thumbs up for what they did, because I enjoy it. And even today, when I get a chance from time to time, I still play the Sega Genesis machine and all the games I have. I like it because Sega Genesis, they have a variety of different games. They got a whole library of different games out there. Sonic the Hedgehog was one of the most popular ones for this console, which usually when you got one of these, they would come bundled with a game sometimes, because what you get is 2 controllers like this. This is just one. You get 2 of those. The cables you would need to power on and hook up to your TV, and then sometimes they would throw in a free game like Sonic the Hedgehog, which I have multiple copies of Sonic the Hedgehog because I made a ton of those. But if you're somebody like nowadays, if you're somebody that's getting into the classic video game market, and you're somebody that don't know a whole lot about video games, and you're looking for like a vintage video game to buy your kids or collect yourself, but you want something with a good library of games, and where you can even to this day get still a ton of games, Sega Genesis is going to be one of the best consoles out there, because even to this day, they made so many games for this. It will be easy to find games for this, parts for this, because they were a real huge hit in the 80s. People bought them up in 89 and the 90s. People, man, Sega is one of those. I rate, like, back in the day, I rate Nintendo number 1, and then like Sega's like number 2, or vice versa, Sega number 1 and Nintendo number 2, because they were the 2, like, to me, back in the day, main companies. They took the world by storm before PlayStation came along, and then of course when PlayStation came along, they dominated the market as well. But all in all, if you're looking for like a classic cartridge-based gaming system from the 90s or 80s, from the 90s basically, Sega Genesis is going to be a good one to go with. I definitely recommend it if you want a cartridge-based gaming console and you want something that's got where you can get lots of parts for it. Like if you need controllers, you can find all kinds of websites out there that are selling controllers. These flood the eBay market and everything, so finding controllers, basically parts, or simply video games to play the system, you're going to have an easy time finding things for it. And as a kid, I really loved it. I thought this was one of the greatest video game consoles out there. I really love it and enjoy playing it, And even today, they're still around. Sega company is still around and making, I think, now they just make video games. They don't make really too much consoles. They just more focus on like the software aspect and stuff. But all in all, yeah, if you're somebody out there getting into the video game collector market and you want to start out collecting like a game cartridge console, one of these cartridge style video game systems, I would say Sega would be one of your best choices to go with, because a variety of, because there's tons of stuff still out there even to this day for Sega. Or is it just somebody that remembers playing vintage video games and you're looking for a good one to get your kids involved in vintage video games? You know, you're a mom or dad and you want to teach your kids about the vintage video games from your childhood. I would recommend the Sega Genesis as one of the consoles to get for that, because you're gonna be able to find parts for it, controllers, games, and what has. There's even people making homebrew games for these consoles nowadays, where I've seen some YouTubers talk about making their own Sega game and stuff, and so there's still a lot of stuff out there. And plus, if you need any information about a system or how to repair one, how to basically build one, there is so much information out there and stuff, and you can even so much information out there that for a beginner collector or beginner gamer, whatever, this is going to be a good console to go with. I highly recommend it. I give it a full 5 stars and stuff. So yeah, there's just tons of information out there. So if you're new to collecting video games or what have you, you can't go wrong with this, and you're not gonna have a problem finding information or whatever the case may be. So highly recommend the Sega Genesis if you're looking for a vintage video game console. They also make little mini consoles nowadays that come pre-installed with a bunch of games. Like, I think it was at a dollar store one time I saw where they had this one that you hook up to your TV, and it looked like a Sega Genesis controller, and it had a bunch of games come pre-installed on it. So yeah, there's a ton of information out there about the Sega Genesis 16-bits. And again, my thoughts on the Sega Genesis 16-bits. I really loved playing this game as a child and this video game console as a child. I love it. I think it's great. And from time to time, when I do play video games, I will pull this out of storage and play from time to time. I'm nowadays, as an adult, I kind of rolled up out of video games, and they're not really too much my thing. But when I do play video games, it's most likely the vintage cartridge games from my younger days back in the 90s. But yes, I give Sega Genesis a full 5 stars, 2 thumbs up. I recommend it. I think you can even find stuff on Amazon as well for video game consoles. eBay, if you're looking for stuff for the Sega Genesis, eBay's, I'm going to say, is number one. Check eBay, and if eBay don't have it, then they probably, if eBay don't have something on the Sega, then it's probably non-existing practically. But yeah, I definitely enjoy the Sega Genesis, and think it's a great machine all around, and full 5 stars, 2 thumbs up. Now, the reason why I didn't show any gameplay or anything, because some of the Sega games are still copyrighted, and I don't want to get a copyright strike on my YouTube video. So that's why you didn't see me turn this on and showing any gameplay, because I don't want to get in trouble for any copyright issues. So that's why, but highly recommend it. Check it out. If you like this sort of video, hit that red subscribe button down below, because Boomhauer69 will be doing all sorts of product reviews, from video games to whatever, probably. You never know. So hit that red subscribe button down below if you're watching new to the channel. Definitely help out Boomhauer69. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Comment below your thoughts on Sega Genesis. Did you like the Sega Genesis 16-bit system? Or did you hate it? Or did you like this video? What was your thoughts on it? Or did you hate this video, and what are your thoughts on this video? Comment below all your thoughts, and hope you all have a good day. And don't forget to share this video with everyone you know if you liked it. Definitely help out Boomhauer69. And also let you all know, the new people that don't know, if you'd like to support Boomhauer69's channel, I also have a PayPal account set up if you'd like to donate to Boomhauer69's channel. I'll put links in the description. I do usually in all my videos, I put the PayPal link in the description if you'd like to donate to Boomhauer69 channel, because I don't do Patreons, I just do PayPal. That is all, and hope you all have a good day.